Today's topic is called the art and power of presence. Consider that for a moment. What is the art and power of presence? A couple things that come from that. First is being present here in the present moment. When we are here in the present moment, a way to identify how to be with that is you look at time. So when we look at time, as my teacher tells me, time works in the linear way of present, past, future. And usually in what we have grown up with in society and culture, we are told that time operates from past, present, then future. But when we are practicing being with what is happening right now, your being with right now is that present moment. And our mind naturally, from experience in the past, uses that as a lens or a filter to look through that. If you're looking through a camera lens, right? You're here in the present, you have the past right in front of that. And when you look through that, it creates the future. And if this is really how time works, which I believe it is in my experience, it really behooves us to cultivate a mindfulness practice where we can actually work in a very mindful, developmental way of refining ourselves that ends up refining the past. So instead of having this maybe not so clear filter of the past that's kind of gunked up, isn't, kind of grody looking. And when you're looking through the lens from the present moment through it, it doesn't make the future look very bright. It doesn't make it look very happy. It doesn't make it look very anything attractive. But when we're able to work on ourselves, which essentially is working on the parts of ourselves that hold memories, experiences, relationships, this is what I see as what identifies the past. When we're working on that mindfully, we're literally polishing that kind of filter. We're cleaning and we're maybe picking up and picking off the lint that has collected on that, the dust that has collected on that. So that when you are in the present moment and you're trying to move into a better future, whatever the goal is that you have set out for yourself, you're able to do it in a way with clarity. That's a huge one. That's a huge one for personal development and greater success, greater power in one's life. You need to have clarity in where you're at so you can know where you want to go. If you don't even know where you're at on a map, someone gives you a map. Okay, tell me where you're at. You don't even know where you are on the map. How can we orient ourselves? How can we have direction to move from where we're at to where we want to go, right? It becomes a very challenging task, if not altogether impossible, right? So mindfulness practice, that is the other coin, the other side of seated meditation practice, is where we are polishing these aspects of the past of ourselves, right? And again, I use the word past. And what I'm saying when I say that is, it is any experiences you've had, any behaviors that you tend to naturally do, right? Relationships that you had or currently are in, right? Any situation, situational environment. I feel like that has already happened, kind of can be categorized into the past. And so what I'm speaking about when I'm talking about having clarity in refining this past, the clarity comes from recognizing and seeing when we are creating obstacles for ourselves, one, when there are others that have been placed before us that are obstacles too, right? That's different. And then the ability to navigate through them effectively so that we're not sabotaging where we want to go into the future. So this great practice of seated meditation comes in, because seated meditation allows you to orient yourself to where you are right now. It lets you be with and see clearly the states of mind that are coming up, right? Maybe the people that are coming into your mind, right? And as you work to let those go and allow yourself to then be present, there's a huge polishing effect that has. There's a huge cleansing, clearing effect that's very transformative. So that when you have given yourself that time in seated meditation practice, you can come up and you're essentially, your lens has changed that you're looking through. It might be a small change or it might be a big shift. It's dependent on us, right? In our own personal practice. It's personal, right? There is no curriculum. There's no guide. I should say there's no like exacting line of, okay, once you hit this, then you'll hit that, you'll hit this, and this is exactly what will happen. There's more guideposts. There's generalizations. When you get to that area, you'll see some rocks that form the shape of a pyramid, and it will be in this specific, configuration. But your pyramid might be blue, someone else's might be green. I mean, it can there are other nuances that become your own personal experience, right? And sometimes that can get lost in words because words can be so limiting of a medium to try and explain something that is really experienced. So when we cultivate this practice in mindfulness to really have clarity on where we're at and where we want to go, it starts the polishing process. And in the polishing process, what are we polishing? We're polishing a couple of things. We're polishing our behaviors, we're polishing our beliefs, and we're polishing our belligerence. Just happen to have a nice set of B words. So what does that all mean? Beliefs that we're polishing are the ones that might be self-defeating beliefs. They might be self-sabotaging beliefs that can sound like negative self-talk, that can feel like or sound like self-doubt when it's going through our head or when it comes out of our mouth, right? Beliefs. So that's what I call beliefs. When they are formed into our mind in such a way that we believe them to be true and we are therefore living from that belief. I wouldn't even say it's the truth because it's just what we think is true. It might not be the real truth, right? So that's the one B. The second one is behaviors. We start to look at and we start to refine our behaviors. Are our behaviors supportive for success? Do we get up in the morning in a timely manner that then allows us to set up our day with a meditation, maybe a healthy breakfast before you head out to work that you need to be at, right, at a certain time? Of course, I recognize this is the real world that we live in. So sometimes you're not working a 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job, right? And sometimes that means you're waking up at 9 o'clock at night to get to your job at like 10. But the essence of that is that you are managing your schedule, your day, and your time through your behaviors that is supportive for what you have to do, right? To be responsible and accountable to get bills paid, make sure the lights stay on, make sure you have heat in the house because it's winter time right now, right? AC if it's summer. You do all those things and you refine the success of that through your behaviors. And it can look like where you purchase groceries and what type of groceries you eat versus the behaviors of going through drive-through and eating Taco Bell or McDonald's or Starbucks every day, right? These behaviors, when we refine them, and it's always a continual work of progress, it actually brings forth more and more energy into our lives. I don't know if you have noticed this, but I find that as I have progressed in my behaviors around nutrition, food, and what I fuel my body with, if I fuel it with the right healthy things, like electrolytes after I train, right, to help muscles get what they need, magnesium, all the stuff like that for recovery, vegetables for healthy fiber, vitamins, etc. I notice that when I eat what my body needs in a very healthy, mindful way, those behaviors translates to feeling satiated and full without having to eat a huge buffet line of food, because the food I did eat was exactly what my body needed, right? So I'm not overstuffing myself. I'm not overeating. It's healthy sustenance that is really refined fuel for my body to be able to move me along for the rest of my day for whatever it is that I need to do. And maybe I'll eat a little bit differently if I know that I have a heavy training night later on at the dojo, martial arts dojo. I will definitely include some protein, right? And other sorts of things. So this is what I talk about when I talk about behaviors. That's the behaviors component. And this other B word that I talk about, which is very interesting, is called belligerence. So for those of you who might not know the meaning of belligerence, because when I first came across it, I didn't know what it meant. It means the parts of ourselves, within ourselves, that are aggressive and that want to fight. I don't want to say it's angry. I mean, anger can be absolutely part of being belligerent, but there can be passion too in belligerence. There can also be pride, right? So these are all the different pieces that are, interconnected in the word belligerence. But at the root of it, at the heart of it, the way I experience it is a sense of like, you want to kind of like fight with someone. You want to argue with them. You want to make your point across. It can mean that you want to be right. No, you have to get something in. You have to say that. Can't just maybe listen. Can't just let that comment go. You have to say something, right? And when that belligerence within ourselves, it can be a very small thing that doesn't do any kind of harm. But if we keep engaging it and we're not mindfully trying to refine it and purify that, then we can come across a lot of problems later on down the road. Not only obstacles in front of us, but we can create more challenges and more suffering than necessary. And it's not necessary, which is what I'm sharing with you. So consider, again, going back, timeline, this very new concept, timeline working present, past, future. And if you're looking at it like a camera lens, the past is a big piece that we can work on through our mindfulness practice, through our behaviors, our belief, and our belligerence, so that we can purify that past, refine that past, so that the clarity that you have when you're in the present moment, you can see right into the future. Imagine for a moment, and this is kind of thinking outside the box. If you get really adept at managing this timeline of present, past, future, and you really work on that past, so it becomes this kind of very transparent, see-through lens, imagine how powerful you can live your life from if you're here in the present and anything that you are thinking, speaking, doing, you are right there into the future. You are literally in that moment creating the future, right? And you're there, and then you're there at the next, and then it's the next. It can be really powerful leaps and jumps that you are creating in your life in that way. In order to do that, we can't just leap, right? Because if you're leaping and you have a cruddy past and it's all full of shit, you'll leap and you'll take some crap with you, and then your future is not going to look so great. It might have a bad smell to it too, right? So it's just, I don't recommend that. I don't suggest that. So being in the present moment, working with the past through those pieces and pointers I mentioned, beliefs, behaviors, and the belligerence that comes up within ourselves, allows us to have this purification process, this refinement process, then the clarity that comes from it. And I feel like the last piece I definitely want to mention that is a real superpower that not a lot of people speak to a lot is the power of willingness. Willingness, I think, is the greatest asset that anyone can have on this path and practice. And when I talk about willingness, I mean the ability to have an open heart and an open mind to whatever is happening in the moment, to you, around you, next to you. Having that open mind and open heart is that willingness that allows us to see possible things that maybe we're getting tripped up on, our beliefs, our behaviors, our belligerence that's not the best, that we can, oh, thank you, I can start working on that. And the willingness allows us to be open-minded and open-hearted, to be teachable, to be guided into something that is better for us. Because the reality is we have a lot of blind spots and we don't know what we don't know. So when we have a willingness to listen, oh, what are your thoughts on this? And to contemplate that and reflect that for a moment to see what is true and real for yourself, it opens us up to a lot of different possibilities and opportunities that we didn't even think about, right? I think that's part of the basis of why, corporate America is based on the structures they have in place with, sure, president, CEO, but then there's board members, right? And there's the upper echelon team management that helps to drive and focus the clarity of a company's profits, which I feel like comes from the willingness to collaborate, right? Willingness to share ideas, willingness to say, hey, this worked for me. I don't know if we're doing this, if this would be the best path for our company or our customers, right? So willingness is something that I want you to consider, especially when you encounter the B word, belligerence. Because when we feel like we want to go up against something and we want to fight something, usually in some way we feel very passionate about it, or maybe we feel right a little bit, right? So there's our ego that gets involved. But when we can be willing to be like, okay, what is it that you have to say? Let me hear what you have to share. It breaks down the belligerence. So it takes the self-sabotaging power out of it, right? It takes that toxic negativity, that sinking feeling. If you're in an ocean, you want to stay afloat, it drops that weight away so that you can be open to what possibility is available or opportunity that is available to you in that moment. So those are some of the teachings that I wanted to share with you today on the art and power of presence in our day-to-day lives. When we can go through our day moment to moment in this way, having presence in this way, this awareness, it can be deeply powerful of how quickly, when your past is refined and purified, there's always going to be aspects to work on. But when it starts to get purer, the present so quickly can shoot out into the future, and you'll ask for something, you're like, oh my gosh, next thing you turn around, you're like, holy crap, I just asked for that and that just happened. The feedback is so quick. There's no long drawn out loop, right? It literally becomes instantaneous, and that can be a little scary sometimes, right? But it's a great evidence, experiential evidence in front of your life to say, holy crap, something's working in my life. Meditation practice, mindfulness training, right? And of course, you don't have to drive yourself crazy and every month, like, okay, I gotta think present, past, future, and I gotta work on all this. Do the best you can, as much as you can, day to day. And as you practice the best you can, obviously, what happens, you get stronger and you get better at it. You're able to practice even more. And the practicing becomes almost like a background, like breathing. It's not like, oh, okay, I have to be mindful for this. It doesn't have to take so much effort. It does start with effort in the beginning. But when we stay consistent with it and continue in that, it it becomes easier, right? That was awesome. Thank you guys for joining me.